We are live. Okay, what do you want to start with, mate?
T from TikTok.
Righto, T. T's the, I was going to say the man, but I could be wrong.
What's the normal contingencies on your contracts?
Right. So that's a super broad question. It just depends. Matter of fact, I was just chatting with my guy from Victoria, and that is in British Columbia, folks. If you're Aussies, I'm not talking about Melbourne. I was just chatting to him because he's like saying, look, I want to be able to book contracts 6 months in advance, but I'm worried about price rises. And understandably so, because right now everything is bouncing all over the place. And what I said is that if, you know, because I think if you're dealing with a client that is focused on, you know, service and quality as opposed to just price only. When you get a price-orientated client, it's super hard for us as GCs to demonstrate the value because the only thing they're looking for is the cheapest price. And unfortunately, I, as a general contractor, or you as a general contractor, or a contractor, are not a commodity. We're a service, and so our price is our price. So what I find is that that if I'm dealing with clients and they say, Max, I know it's November, but what I want to do is I want to lock in a spot because I want to make sure that if you start this job in April, that you finish it by, you know, June, and I can enjoy the summer in my summer house or whatever the case may be. And so the way we do that is we would have to look, because we're dealing with a quality-orientated, a very prudent type customer that wants great service, top shelf, white glove, all that sort of stuff. What we might have to do before we go and submit our final proposal, because we've got that in mind, because you're always going to talk to them not just about price and inclusions, but scheduling. Hey, I'm not going to be able to fit you in till, you know, April next year. Is that okay? And they go, look, that's fine. I just want to lock my spot in. I want to know what I'm getting into. I want to know how much I'm going to pay. I want to know what's included. They're all good things. When I'm talking to a client, they're telling me that. So what I'm going to do to answer T's question is the contingencies that I would add. Obviously, T, I'm going to assume you mean full-on contingencies and cushions, not markup or margin. I'm going to make that assumption. Feel free to correct me if I've got that sideways. But what I would do is I would look at the historical data, look at the things that have moved on price, which is typical, you know, steel, lumber or timber if you're in Australia, and, you know, even things like drywall, concrete are big ticket items. Any of those big ticket items, I would go back into my categories within my estimate and I would allocate what I think was an appropriate contingency. So if I'm going to put my neck in a noose in the way of a contract in November 2022 for a commencement, let's say mid-April, knowing full well that in that quarter or in that 3 months, there could be some price rises, and not just with one product, but several that could really influence, you know, my ultimate price. Because if you lock yourself into a contract in November and you start in, you know, April and shit's gone up by 15%, that's just reduced your gross profit. You don't want to do that. Now, what you'll need to do is look at your lumber or your timber, look at your concrete, look at the drywall, you know, all of those types of products that are in there, because labor's not going to bounce that much. But each of the line items, I might say a cushion, you know, a concrete contingency or a concrete cushion or whatever. And I might add, you know, either a lump sum, maybe $1,000, depending on the size of the project, of course. Or I might add, you know, I might calculate a percentage of the overall category cost for the material and go, I'm going to add 18% onto that. And that becomes a contingency that's built in. Now, if you're doing cost plus, that is going to be like super crazy difficult to explain to a client. And this is why I prefer to run with fixed price. Now, I'm just one guy. We've got a few general contractors that roll with the whole fixed price thing. But I think that's, for me, when I'm selling value and I'm demonstrating value to clients and they say, Max, I don't want to miss out, I want to make sure I'm in, then the fixed price approach can actually pay dividends. But literally, you've got to be an assassin estimator, a ninja estimator, to ensure that you're thinking about all of those different scopes and materials, labor and material, and to ensure that you have allocated not a crazy contingency, but a very appropriate and an acceptable contingency to ensure that that works for you. So T just made a comment there. You answered it. Thanks, mate. You are more than welcome. I hope that was okay. It might have been worth what you just paid for it, my friend. But anyway, that might have helped out a little bit. So, yeah, Chris is saying labour is the most... Yeah, by far, man. If it's going to blow out, labour is going to crucify us. So, yeah, good-o. Righto, next one. Thanks, T.
Danielle.
Righto, Danielle, let's go.
She has this in quotes. look at your cash flow. That's in quotes.
Righto.
What does that actually mean? What are we looking at?
So her comment was look at.
She quoted you. You saying look at your cash flow. She's
Right.
asking what does that mean? What are we looking at?
Oh shit! Was that on a? Was that? I don't even know if that was on another
guess that was
TikTok
on a
video
TikTok.
or it was on a podcast or what.
I think that's in one of your.
Look at your cash flow. Ugh. What's that?
Yeah, one of the snippets. I'll have a look right now.
Look at your cash flow. What I'm lacking right now, Danielle, and we'll get to it is context, 100%. So, oh geez, Louise, cash flow. Normally, I'm talking about fixed expenses, cash flow, looking at break-even points. Forecasting cash flow maybe is super important. If I know that my company, including my wage, cost me $15,000 a month, I've got to make sure that, I'm signing up contracts and I make, let's say for 30 to 60 days or 90 days in front to make sure that my billables are going to be there when I get to that month, 3 months in the future. But cash flow is king, but, revenue is more about vanity. Profit is really where there's sanity. So, cash flow is king. I get it. But sales cures everything. And I don't think there's one thing. Like, it's not just cash flow, because you can have cash flow or revenue, and what that might do, because you've got a good roll of revenue, what it does is it disguises your level of liability. So if the cash flow stops, then all of a sudden the liability reaches out and says, I need to be paid. And if you've had a bad couple of months, all of a sudden not the expenses, but your fixed expenses or your liability, it now is outweighing your cash at bank or your cash flow. That's why you've got a problem. That's why guys and gals will go for 2 or 3 years and go, yeah, I think it's working, it's going okay. And then all of a sudden there's a big dip, whether it's a seasonal thing or whether it's just that moment in time where they just didn't win contracts 3 months ago. Now they've got no work. All of a sudden, it really it's like when the tide goes out, the rocks are then exposed. So, I don't know. Look, just keep an eye out for Danielle's comment if she comes back to us and gives us a little bit more context. But that's sort of what I can think about around cash flow. It's good, but it can be a bit of a, it can disguise some things as well if you're getting too high on your own supply. All right, what do we got next?
Max Martin from TikTok.
Maxie Martin's back in the house. G'day. Go. What's his question?
Hey, what's your opinion on house flipping in Oz as a builder?
House flipping. Yeah, look, I did. Oh, geez, what's her name? I did a house flipping course with. Oh, shite! I follow her on Facebook and everything. Anyway. Look, there's two approaches, right? This is me just shooting from the hip. There's what they call cash cow deals and there's chunk deals. And so a cash cow deal was where you can buy a piece of real estate, you can manufacture capital value, like the value of that. You can add a bedroom, maybe add a balcony, something that actually, add another washroom or a bathroom or something like that, something that adds value to that piece of property. And what that then it increases maybe the value, but it also increases the rent. So that now becomes a more positive cash flow cow that you would do. And normally you'd want to, any of those sorts of deals, I kind of want to be putting down 40%, just because it needs to be cash flow positive, dude. This whole negative geared thing is what my old man got into in the 90s, and it really's got to be geared a particular way. And for us, yeah, I'll get back to your question, Todd. I just spotted it, but the team will grab that. But really the negative gear thing doesn't work. So what I want to do is I want to put 40% down, and then this is my personal opinion, right? So if you got advice elsewhere, knock yourself out, fill your boots, that's fine. But that's sort of what I would want to do because I want to be cash flow positive. Now, if I then go and manufacture value into that property, now being a builder and a carpenter, there's a lot of value add that I can do, and it doesn't cost me retail. I buy that wholesale because I do it with my own bare hands. And then the other thing you can do is the same sort of approach, but you're doing it for a flip, and that's what you're talking about. That's what we call a chunk deal. In other words, you buy it for 300,000, you put 100 grand down, you spend 40 grand on it, and all of a sudden the thing's worth 550. And then you flip that, and you've just taken 125,000 or whatever the numbers are. You pay a bit of tax on that, and you turn it around, or you turn it around and reinvest in another either chunk deal or. And I will. Oh, geez, I almost remembered her name. Dimphna Bolt. I think that's her name. I think that's her name. It's that weird, but it's that might be it. Dymphnah, Dymphnana. Geez, forget about that. So anyway, that's my view. That is not advice. That's just my view, my opinion. Hopefully that helps.
Chris from TikTok.
Righto, Chris. Come on. Who was it? Instagram. Let's go. We need some questions from Insta.
Solar. We need tips on solar. RSA hit with load shedding. Labor is the most. Oh, yeah.
Is that a statement or a question?
Solar. We need solar. RSA hit with load shedding. I think that's just a statement.
Just a heads up.
Yeah, I'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, I got buddies that do solar. Look, there's a lot of investment. You know, you can spend 50 or 60 grand on a really good solar system to, you know, get you off the grid and stuff. But like 50 or 60 grand, I pay $200 for electricity at the moment a month. It's like that's a shit ton. It's a shitload a month. So anyway, I got two buddies, electricians, and they're off the grid specialists and shit. And now he's putting solar systems on RVs and stuff, and he's dominating. So that's where he's sort of morphed into, got away from residential, and he's got straight into putting on RVs. All right, next one.
Todd.
Right.
This is a 2 question, so I'll give you the first one.
Yep.
What's your favorite project?
Yeah, that's interesting. The favorite type of project. I guess, you know, I started life doing a lot of new home builds. So I don't know where he's from, whether he wants me to talk in square feet or square meters, but they would be 350 square meter homes, which is probably about 3,000 square foot homes. Like they were, you know, for the Asian market and the East Indian market, you know, in Brisbane. And so I grew up doing that, and then we moved into a lot of doing townhouses, 500 townhouses a year. So I've been involved in that semi-commercial world. Even worked on a few high-rises down Rabina on the Gold Coast, and then got into renos because I got a builder's license then. I actually I think I enjoy the challenge of renos. That's probably what I would say. So anything renovation, because I kind of enjoy trying to make ham out of pig shit. That's I like the challenge, being a bit of a pioneer, taking the, you know, the 30 to 50 year old technology, you know, in construction and how it was then, and the design and the layout, et cetera, and then actually revamping that and really creating a different aesthetic value, but also creating a better function value as well. So H. Marsha's got some questions. Are we picking those up? Hope that helps. Yes. That's sort of where I'm at. I enjoy being creative. I do miss that being in the office, but I do put that into what I do here at corporate office now. High level creative. Super enjoy the creative aspect. So,
his second question.
Yep.
Have you ever lost money on a project?
Oh, mate. Oh, I mean, I can tell you that Fiveplex project, it was a $1.1 million contract. That sucker. That was an $8,500 loss because my estimator, who's a buddy of mine, thanks, Jace, he comes to me with cap in hand one day, 3 weeks into this project. So I was busy getting the thing out the ground, doing, you know, perimeter fencing, silt barriers, excavation, like site surveys, excavation, foundations or footings. And I go back to the office. He's like, mate, I've gone to order the ceramic tiles and figured out that I didn't allow anything in the estimate for ceramic tiles. So that was sort of my cock up. I guess I didn't have a very good checklist at that stage. And so what we had to do, because we're on fixed price and we had 9 months to build it, we just had to figure out a way of clawing it back. So the fact that we picked it up early, we were able to then focus on recovering that and sort of getting back to zero. So that's probably the biggest standout. Look, there's a lot of stuff because I've always done fixed price, which is why that's how you lose money. Because if you're on cost plus, there is no loss. You just keep, you know, dinging them for another 15, 20% or whatever they do on cost plus. But so fixed price, that would be the standout. There's definitely been others where I think because I learned that lesson early on in my career, every time I took a loss throughout, you know, the rest of my career up to this point, I've always been keen to become a better estimator, because profit is a natural byproduct of good estimating, but also, you know, what it allowed me to do is understand the principle of clawing back and going after efficiencies, doing just-in-time orders, you know, actually ordering short and just making sure that we didn't order any extra. So, you know, that takes a lot of analysis too, because you've got to A, identify where your loss is, and then B, you've got to identify your activity on the way through or continuing forward so that you can make sure that you do recover that loss essentially. Because when you lose $8,500 straight out the gate, you want to know that you've got back to zero at least. Okay, and that's all about analytics. So how's that?
Good.
What have we got next? Cheers for the question.
H. Marsh.
Yep.
Thoughts on quoting?
The better you get, the more money you make. No, look, I think, like I just said, profit is a natural byproduct of good quoting or good estimating. I think, obviously, just for the record, estimates are exactly what that is. They are a hypothetical guess with a reasonable amount of, accuracy based off of my experience with no real major calculations. A quote is different. A quote is what we do when we present a fixed price. So when people come to me and say, Max, I've got an estimate off 2 other builders, and I'm saying, well, I'm going to give you a fixed price. Are they giving you a fixed price? Are they going to give you a completion date? More often than not, they're like, no, it's a cost plus arrangement. I go, well, we're not even comparing apples to apples here. So, that's the beginning. But with quoting, I look at quoting after I've only done really a basics in estimating. I think now, and that would have been done 10 years ago with master builders, I would say that I had a real desire to be a estimating ninja. Obviously, with what happened on that townhouse, obviously I got Jace to do it and we dropped the ball. But I like, I've said this before too, the way that I quote is that I sit there and I build it in my head because I, did a carpentry apprenticeship between 89 and 93. And then I spent 20 years before I got a builder's license, or maybe 16 years before I got a builder's license. And so I had all of that exposure hands-on, dealing with other trades and working with other general contractors or builders. So I always wanted to be a builder. I just really had a hard time getting the credential, which I finally got in 2009. So, but yeah, part of the craft for me wasn't the construction side of it. It was the quoting and estimating, or estimating and quoting, the sales, and then the business development and the financial management. They were the things that I identified that I was going to have issues with because I knew really nothing about it. And of course, fast forward 10 years or whatever it is, and here I am working with general contractors, working on financial management and business development and human resource management, all that kind of thing. So, honestly, I don't think you should be quoting. If you're using an Excel spreadsheet, you want to be doing smaller jobs. I think if you're going to be serious about this, you want a piece of software that's going to basically integrate right across all aspects. So, I'm getting waved at.
I'll just stop you there because you're going into the next question.
Yep, right.
So Todd asks, what computer programs do you use to run projects?
Righto, Todd. So we have over 100 general contractors in 3 countries. They all use a program called Build Exact. Is that in the bio or is that somewhere?
No.
Okay, Build Exact, BUILD XACT. See? No. BuildExact.ca if you're in Canada.com. I did a podcast episode 75 on the Business for Builders podcast or YouTube. I talked there about the software that we use, Todd. So check us out either on the podcast, episode 75, or on YouTube, and I'll chat to you a little bit more about, the ins and outs of Build Exact. And but that's what we use. There's all kinds out there. I mean, Builder Trend's another big one. Co-Construct was a big one. They got bought out by Builder Trend, so I don't believe you can go in and buy a Co-Construct subscription anymore. You can get diverted to Builder Trend. I think that's what they did. They bought out Co-Construct and basically just shut them down and diverted all that work to them. That's my guess. But that's who I use, Todd. Hopefully that one works out. You can, I don't know whereabouts you are, Todd, but I've got an inside line with the guy in Vancouver. I'm sure you can get a 14-day or a 21-day or a 30-day thing special. And if you are dealing with them, tell them you've been talking to Max at Smith & Sons and tell them you want a 10% discount. And if you get any problems with that, just call me at head office or email me at max@businessforbuilders.ca and I'll get onto them for you, mate. Because the reason they're in North America is because of Smith & Sons. Yeah, they're welcome. Okay, next one. What's that? Thanks, Todd.
Jet Hill. How do you keep a good balanced lifestyle while running your business?
Well, if I had a good balance, young man, I would be able to give you a heads up. Yes. How do I? I don't know. I don't even know that I do. I know I spend a lot of time down in this bloody office, that's for sure. I think I don't know. I think the work-life balance thing is I don't even really want to get into that subject because I am busy trying to make it work for myself. I mean, I've got a wife and 6 kids. I've got 3 business partners. I've got 8 general contractor franchised operators. I've got 5 staff. Look, I think actually I just did a podcast on this, which is sort of what I was starting to think about recently. I think the whole work-life balance. I think what's more important is that you are happy with who you are, where you are, with what you have. I think too many of us run around spending money on, spending money we don't have on shit we don't need to impress people who don't give a rat's ass. And so this is why, not that I don't want anybody to not make money. I think if you're out there doing it, we have to be profitable. There's no if, buts, or maybes, but not at the expense of your own personal happiness. And so I think when you talk about, I wouldn't call it work-life balance. What I would talk about is possibly enjoying the now, right now. So when I'm at work, pumped. When I go home, then I'm like, okay, why am I continuing to think about work? I shouldn't do it, because I think I find if I do too much, you will get what they call a bit of fatigue and you'll get burned out. And that's when you're not really functioning at the highest level. So you do need to just, you need to recharge at some level. And then, so for me, there's 2 things that I do to manage, myself. And that is, I love motorsport. So whether I'm racing or whether I'm watching motorsport or whether I'm playing guitar, jamming, like I'm going to be doing tonight with some friends, knocking the froth off a couple. That's not a Canadian thing, is it? I think that's an Aussie thing. All the Aussies will go, yeah, mate, knock the froth off a couple. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a South African thing too. But that's what when I talk about work-life balance, lifestyle with running your business, I just think I do with whatever I have to do right now. I do. I don't really worry about what else is going on. And here's the flip side: when I go racing for a whole weekend, I am not thinking about the business, and I don't feel bad. And if I've got to take a day off on Friday to go to the racetrack or do whatever, then I don't feel bad about that either. If I'm working my ass off when I'm at the office and when I'm doing business, then I'm working my ass off. I'm focused on that. But I'll tell you what, when I go somewhere else, I've got to disconnect. I've got to protect me. I know that I've got to reset, and nothing rejuvenates me more than a day at the racetrack. But if you look outside, there's a whole bunch of bloody that white stuff on the ground, completely messes with our motor racing season. So, we're done. So I hope that's a little bit of a different spin on it. So I wouldn't say that's what you would get from a psychologist, but that's me as an operator. So are we getting behind on questions? No, we're doing okay. We're keeping up. So, hopefully that helps. Even with all the commitments that I've got, I just basically do well with what's in my hands right now. And then, look, dude, I'm telling you, it's just business and it's just money. That's it. It's not worth, taking away my happiness because of it. I'm not going to do that. Not a chance. Not a chance. I love what I do. And I'm going to be happy when I'm doing it, and I'm going to be happy when I'm not doing it. So, Jed Hill, no worries, mate, from Sydney. You blue bastard. He'll get that. If you're not an Aussie and you don't come from New South Wales, that's an insult to poor Jed. But, we have this New South Wales, Queenslander kind of love-hate relationship, don't we, Jet? All right, what's the next question? Thanks, man.
Dimitru,
let's go.
what's a good markup margin in renovation?
Dimitru, you sure you got that right?
Guys, Dumitru.
He's got Dimitru. Okay. I'm going to call him D. Righto, D. Big D.
Don't call him that.
Okay, I won't call him that.
We'll get banned.
There you go. We said yes. We're right. Dimitru. We got it. Nailed it. Yeah, touchdown. You can tell I'm in Canada. Bloody hell. Mate, what I would say is, first thing I want you to understand is that when you talk those, you've got 2 different words going in there, I think. One is, profit margin and markup is 2 different things. Give me the episode for markup and margin. Markup and margin. You got to know the difference. Okay, episode 81 is where I talk about the difference between markup percentages and profit margin percentages. Now, the easiest way to understand the difference between markup and margin is that markup is the action and margin is the result of the markup. So if you mark up by 45%, did he ask me what appropriate markup for renovations is?
1 second, I'll read it out to you again.
Sorry, I'm pretty sure he said...
What's a good markup margin in a renovation?
See, markup margin, he's just used those 2, he's blended those 2 together. This is what I'd say. Well, I'll tell you what we do. More often than not, 98% of the time. Sometimes we might flex a little bit up and flex a bit down, but more often than not, I teach that in renovations with the high level, yep, he's got it, just mark up, no sweat. So when you mark up by 45%, which is what we do, Dimitri, you then create a 30% profit margin. Now that's a gross profit margin. Out of that, you've got to make sure you can pay your wages and all your fixed expenses and your running costs. So now with that, I would say this, to get that's at a higher level. I know some GCs would be as adventurous to go to 50% markup, which is pretty cool. We don't go there because obviously the contract sizes, that does affect it. So if you're doing a $25,000 bathroom, you might be able to do 50%, no problem. And that's probably what I'd recommend. But on a $500,000 reno, you might settle for a 45% markup or a 30% profit margin. Now, if you're doing fixed price, you can win or lose too. If you're really efficient in your delivery, you can actually get to a point where your profit margin that you started with either increases or decreases depending on your efficiency in your delivery process. So
he added just markup. Sorry.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh. Yeah. So he's saying just markup. Yep. So it's that's where the fixed price. And if you're from Oz, more often than not, the whole cost plus thing is more of a commercial thing. In the residential sector, everyone's looking for a fixed price. They want to know exactly how much. So Dimitri, I hope that helps, mate. That's sort of, we're definitely at 45 with a profit margin of 30%. So hope that's squared away some shit for you, bro.
User.
Righto, user, and no, I won't say that. Yep.
How do you find customers when just starting out?
With great difficulty. You're welcome, Dimitri. No problem, champion. Stay in touch. Remember, you can get a hold of us on email, max@businessforbuilders.ca. I think that's in the TikTok bio. Is it in the Instagram bio as well?
I think Jill just took it out of the TikTok bio.
Righto. Or you can go businessforbuilders.ca and go to the contact form and punch your shit in there and ask me questions, and that'll end up in my inbox one way or the other. Geez, now I think I forgot the question.
How do you find customers when just starting out?
That's right. And I was being a smart ass going with great difficulty. Look, I think it depends on what size of business. If you're just starting out, matter of fact, I just got an invitation, just 2 weeks ago, I got an invitation to go on another podcast, and he was asking me, hey, we want to talk about launching a general contracting business or a building company, in a new area. So if you're living in Sydney and you decided to go and move across to Orange or, Wagga Wagga, there's a Kiwi in town. He's like, mate, I heard you the first time. And I said, no, Wagga Wagga. He said, mate, I heard you the first. Never mind. Stupid. And that was a Kiwi, and I'm laughing at his shit. But yeah, he's invited me to chat about, relocating a building company and starting from scratch. So look, I would say to you, what I did when I moved to this country, obviously wasn't originally from around here, spoke funny, and then nobody respected me for my 25 years in the industry, which is kind of insulting. So what I had to do was I had to build a network. I had to start contacting different people in and around. And literally I think I've shared this before. I was, one realtor rang me and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. He wanted me to go and install a dishwasher or some shit on $20 an hour. And I hadn't worked for $20 an hour for 20 friggin' years. But what I understood was that I had to break into the market. So if for the guys in Australia, you know who Bunnings is. Well, way back in the day when it was BBC Hardware and Bunnings bought out lots of BBC Hardwares and rebranded as Bunnings, what Bunnings were doing, they were buying the work. They were literally going in there and selling material at cost. And what they did is they got us builders moving across from BBC Hardware into this big warehouse operation, which is very similar to Home Depot here in North America. And that's how they really got us on board. Mate, I don't know. We've got, did you see, can you see? You can't see that. Dom, come around here and have a look at this. We've got an invite to join a live. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's gone. Forget about it. Sit down. It's not there anymore. Anyway, so what I'm saying is to go and get customers, what you've got to do is if you know you've got the chops and you're good enough, then what you've got to do is you've got to demonstrate the value, and you've got to build this wall brick by brick by brick. If you're going to build this castle, which is your company, you've got to build it brick by brick. So it comes down to you've got to have a crazy work ethic. You've got to have very high humility, because you're going to have to do what I did and do shit like that you don't really want to do for a lot less money than you think you're already worth. And then slowly what happens is if you are good and you are a ninja, then let the work, let the recognition come to you. Let the word of mouth kick in, right? And I'd say that you can go and throw money at Facebook sponsored ads, Instagram. You can go and do Google AdWords. If you got coin, fill your boots. I think there's plenty of opportunity there. But like I don't know, I'll spend $100,000 on Google AdWords this year, easy. Probably spend, I don't know, 50 grand on Facebook. So, but I am supporting 8 general contractors, so we've got to kind of be fairly aggressive. Right now, the guy that I'm jamming with tonight, I'm spending $100 a day on Google AdWords because it's highly competitive in that area, and our optimization percentage is about 94% in that marketplace, and yet I'm still having to drop 100 bills a day to get that sort of thing. So there's your two. What you want to do is basically do sweat equity and go and reach out to all the realtors. Anytime they're selling a new house, you want them to recommend you. Now, you might have to go and prove yourself to that realtor that you're good enough to actually be recommended. So there's your challenge. You might go and do some work for free. I don't know. However badly you want it, whatever your level of humility and ego is going to let you do. And then, of course, once you start getting business, you then got to make sure that your biz dev, financial management, and business development, processes are up there. So I think that's pretty good. Hopefully that helps you, champion. That's how you get new customers. It's networking. Pound the pavement, press the flesh, work your face off, be eager to please. Just remember, draw the line. I got a boy on the back of this camera who wants to be a videographer, and he's started out doing a lot of work for free, and then he started to charge a little bit for the work that he's doing, and then he finds out that clients want to do 17 reworks, and they think that's cool. Well, he's like, hey, what do I do about this? And I'm like, cut his freaking head off. So, what I want you to do is learn the lessons first. Don't focus on the money. Do the bare minimum. Get the money that you have to. Don't focus mainly on making a profit. Start thinking about the development of your business, building relationships with people that can refer you. Work on your sphere of influence. That's what I would say. Let's go.
If you just want to really quickly answer this one.
Sure.
This is a follow-up to his original question.
Right.
How do you prove that you're not just a scammer?
You've got to demonstrate value. Now, how you demonstrate value is up to you. I often would say, did Jace make comment in that video that we did today that we want to convert our clients to raving fans? Did he actually say that? Right. So what I want to do, my goal from the get-go is to take an inquiry and turn him into a raving fan. Now, how you go about converting a lead to a job into a raving fan, that is quite the challenge. It's like you've got to do something different. And so what you need to do is look at what you have in your repertoire. Like, what have you got at your disposal where you can go and say, look, I really would love to work for you. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you 8 hours on a Saturday for no charge. I want to prove to you that I'm not some, redneck cowboy scammer builder. And start, because when people, it is harder than you think if you're a client or a homeowner to actually get good builders. And so the only way you can do it, this is why, and his name's User because I don't know what his real name is, but what we do is we're doing the same thing. We want to make sure that people in the marketplace know that we're not some corporate crazy or we're not a scammer or whatever. And so what we have is we have a large suite, and go and check this out on smithandsons.ca and go and have a listen or a watch of the video client testimonials. Like, I see a lot of, and I'll say you builders, I don't mean to sort of, drag you guys down, but anyone that today just has written reviews on their website, it's so 2006. Like, it's hard, and don't get me wrong. Well, I took the team down to the island and we did a couple down there, and we're literally sitting on this guy's back deck under this gazebo, and it's friggin' raining. And we've got 2 cameras set up. We've got lights. It's like, it's hard to do, and it is expensive. Probably cost me a couple of $1,000s to get that video. But I'm sure you could figure out a way. And it's better that a past client is talking to a prospective client, and me, the builder, is nowhere near the conversation. And that's how we prove that we're not scammers, because we've got past clientele that are talking about their experience with us, and that helps monumentally, and it does a lot of the heavy lifting for our general contractors. So I tell you, the other thing that proves you're not a scammer is consistency. And I think anytime that you get a chance to liaise with clients, this is what I always say too, is that if you meet someone for the first time, they're going to have a wall of distrust that's up. And I don't know which episode I spoke about wall of distrust, but the way that we break down the wall of distrust, where we have clients getting to know us, like us, that's who they'll do business with, is by just touch points, text messages, phone calls, not pushy, just communication. Hey, just wanted to let you know this is where I'm up to. And I am doing this on a more of an executive corporate front with some of our clients. Whenever I'm dealing with disputes, I'm highly communicative. Once a week, I will report back with something. I have to do that, otherwise they start thinking negative thoughts, and I can't afford that shit. So, user, I hope that helps you, champion. Good luck. Sam, good to meet you, champ. Keep up the good work, and don't forget to email me if you've got any questions, max@businessforbuilders.ca. One question at a time, and I will get back to you as promptly as I can.
Danielle?
Righto, Danielle. Let's go.
What do you think should change? What do you think should change the industry? What do you think should change the industry?
What do I think? That's rather philosophical. I probably need a couple more beers, and we need to chat about this later on tonight, I think. What do I think could change the industry? Oh, geez, Louise. Or Danielle. That's super tricky. That's me just popping out my opinion, and I'm not sure how relevant that is. But, I think that it's there's forces from both sides. I think there's good general contractors out there, or good builders, that get taken advantage of by ruthless clients. And I think that there's really
good-natured
clients that get taken advantage of by dickhead builders.
Danielle added, should change in the industry, for example, 10% deposits.
Right, now I think she's Queenslander, so yeah, I know the law in Queensland is anything over 20 grand, you can only take 5%. I'd love context, Danielle, and we can jam around that. So, look, I know the guy that I did my apprenticeship with, and he's a pretty big builder in Queensland.
New South Wales.
Oh no, she's in New South Wales. My bad. Look, I don't. He would say to me often. Matter of fact, when I met with him in Oz last time on one of his high-rise projects, he talked to me about how that the governing authority or the body there that oversees construction, he said it was too regulated. And I don't know, Danielle, if that's what you're referring to. The fact that the change in the industry, when you make reference to a 10% deposit, I'm assuming you're saying that why is there 10% deposits maximum, like there's a limitation there? It's a really fine line. It's boy, oh boy, for a governing authority in the business or in the building and construction industry to walk that middle line where you're looking after the end user or the homeowner and you're looking after the builder or the contractor, it is a heck of a challenge, because I'm in that position where at corporate office and being CEO, we're very accessible by clients. They don't have to look too hard, and they ring that 1-800 number, and that phone gets picked up 20 feet from my desk. So, and in some cases the clients are just way off and it's not going to happen. But in some cases, the clients are on point and the builder's got a case to answer for. So she's saying, the regulated deposits don't cover materials. Right. Okay, so here we go. Let's go. So she's saying, I want 40% because, now if I remember correctly, Danielle, you're in the roofing game, like metal roofing. I could be wrong, I could be right. But let's say, so what you've got to do is, this is what I used to do as a builder. And because of the same rules, I think, anything over 20 grand, I could collect 5% maximum. So when I did there she goes, roofing. So when I do a $1.1 million job, the maximum deposit or down payment, let's say on contract signing, was 5%, which was 50 grand, which seems like a lot of money, but on a job site, like a 5-plex, 50 grand, which is only 5%, that's not going to really touch the side. So what you've got to do, Danielle, is on signing, I would recommend, and remember, I'm just giving you my opinion. I'm not saying that you should go do this. You probably want to check with your legal counsel to make sure that you're not overstepping that, because you are messing with a governing authority or regulator who have got unlimited personnel, unlimited time, and unlimited cash. What I would recommend is that you have a contract signing stage claim, which is in line with what the governing authority says. And then what I would say is, and then the next stage would be on commencement of work, or this is what I would say, on commencement of work and or delivery of materials. Now, if I used to run all commercial accounts, everything was on a commercial account for that frigging reason, because these pricks make it super hard for me to get access to liquid cash to be able to go and buy that shit and order it in advance. So there wasn't something that really, because I had commercial accounts set up. So, but let's say you don't, then, for us builders, we can go in there and do demolition and we can make another claim of 30%, let's say, on top of the 10%. And all of a sudden I've got myself 40%. So I'm now cash flow positive. I've got a bow wave of cash, and now I can commence ordering and, putting down payments on those, kitchen orders and things like that as a general contractor. But I don't know, if you're just into roofing, you can't go there and start work until you've got metal batten and, sarking, because none of the North Americans will understand what that is. But like roof insulation, blanket, all your roof screws, and of course all the metal and all the barges and the fascias and the gutters and everything like that. You need all of that shit delivered so you can start work. So you've got yourself a bit of a challenge, Danielle. If there is no ability for you to set up another progress payment in your schedule to get that extra 20, 30, 40% that you need. So, you might have to kick around and just ask other groups what they're doing. You may have already done that, and you may be all in the same basket. I don't know. But, that's about the long and the short. That's all I got for you.
Aussie Jared from TikTok.
Aussie Jared, sweet. Good to see you again, champion.
I'm starting with a new builder in a couple of weeks. Is putting my rates up an extra $10 an hour too much?
First of all, I want to know, why is it that you've jumped ship and started with this new guy? And were you headhunted, or were you looking around for work with different, GCs or builders? That I need that context, because I want to know. And look, dude, if you're starting next week and you haven't discussed price, that's kind of weird. Because what if he gives you $10 an hour less than you want? What are you going to do? Go back to the other guy and say, I need my job back because I went and got premature ejaculation, and now I've got to come back and, work for this other guy again. I would think if he's headhunting you, he's gonna call you across, and he's going to pay you more money to incentivize your move. It's not quite a signing bonus, but it's, there's some benefit. So just keep an eye on, who was that just asked that question?
Aussie Jared.
Aussie Jared asked. Just keep an eye on Aussie Jared. He's got to come back to me and ask me, did he negotiate his move off the back of price, or is just because Aussie Jared's being such a really cool dude? Oh, he's got no work. Cabinet Makers has recommended me. Right. Okay. So let's say there's Aussie Jared's looking at it going, there's an opportunity for me to make some dough. I'd be like, okay, how much more do you want? What's the market value? I don't know how good Aussie Jared is. Obviously, the Cabinet Makers recommended him. Mate, here's one way to find out. Follow your intuition and do what your intuition tells you. If you reckon you're worth another $5 to $7 more, get after it. But understand this, that in the event that the guy's got to make you're the last one in and you're the highest paid, who knows? That could be your downfall as well. So what I might suggest to you is to go in there at the rate that you need, and then try and value add and see how the ball bounces. So, and it depends on what the marketplace is doing. If you can't get good carpenters, then the leverage is with you. So, it really does depend on a lot of different factors in and around the marketplace that you're jamming in. So, righto, Dom. What's the next one?
Curtis.
Hey, Curtis from...
I'm pretty sure it's from TikTok.
Sweet.
100%.
The folks in Instagram are very conservative. They just like to chill and have a listen. Let's go. Let's go, Curtis. What do we got?
What steps should we take when customer is trying to lowball you but could end up into more work?
What? So you can do twice the amount of work from being lowballed. Mate, any time that I'm getting, if I've got a customer that's grinding me down, because my leverage lies in the fact that I know 99% of the time my inquiry level is up here, I don't have to negotiate with kids, terrorists, or price-oriented clients, because there's way more opportunity out there than what those clients understand. And so what I would say is, it's for me, I'm not saying it's you, because you might be saying, well, Max, I only get 2 inquiries a month. I have to go working for these people. I understand. So what you got to do is to get away from this manipulative type approach by clients who are just looking for the low price. It's like doing work for government bodies, right? They're always just looking for the cheapest price. What I say is, it's easier to give birth than it is to raise the dead. Does that make sense? Like, it's just easier to find another client who values my service or the quality of my service over them just getting it. I'm not a commodity. I'm a service business. And you can't put me beside another guy, because we're not just cans of Coke that you can compare accurately. It's like I drive an F-150 pickup. I could have bought that from a dealer 45 minutes south. I could have bought that from a dealer in town, or I could have bought it from a dealer, which I did 45 minutes north of here. But it was the same stinking truck. We are not the same services. If you put a 25-year-old builder next to me and I'm talking to a client, I know that I'll outmaneuver that young fella because I'm just older. I'm just better at it. I'm just more experienced. The client is going to look at me if they're looking at quality. Now, if they're looking at price, the young buck might outflank me because he's going to be like, well, I can do it for less. Now, the problem is he's just saved me the problem of dealing with that client that is price-oriented, and those two deserve each other. Think about that. But I'm telling you, when that 25-year-old hotshots gets to 30 and he's sick of like running a business that's making no money, he'll be like, I need to probably change a few things in my approach. And that's what happens. I think that's what happens to all of us. We get tired of getting paid peanuts for the expertise. Remember, your knowledge and experience is worth something. And so it's not just when you hit the job site that your knowledge and experience is worth something. It is in the quoting phase as well. And of course, I talk about how to get paid to quote on episode 80. Episode, drum roll. Okay, episode 60, I talk about how to get paid to quote. That'll be a good episode. Episode 60. So, that's what I would say. Hopefully that helps. What's next?
Shore Bank Plumbing sent us a rose.
Shore Bank Plumbing, on this TikTok?
Yeah.
You sent us...
And they have 17,000 followers.
Sent us a rose, and I don't really know what the rose means, but I'm really pumped that you sent me a rose.
It's money.
It's big love. Thanks for the big love. That's awesome. We love the community that we're building here. So, choice.
As Bula said, that there is a lack of good carpenters in Queensland.
Yeah, okay. So this is where, now here's what's going to happen. And that was Hasbulla made that comment. Thanks
about our Aussie Jared.
Yep, about Aussie Jared. Right. So this is what happens. This is what should happen. When there is, it's all about supply and demand. So if all of a sudden the demand for carpenters goes up and the supply is down, there's opportunity for carpenters. Now, what builders have got to do is recognize that supply and demand, and they've got to go to the end user and let them know that the user pays. The user pays. Why am I going to, pay for somebody's renovation? It's not going to happen. Did you just name them incorrectly?
I think I did say their name incorrectly. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's Shorebreak Plumbing. A big shout out to Shorebreak. That almost sounds like a New South Wales. Tell us where you're from, because that sounds very New South Wales. It's almost Sydney. I was going to say North Shore, but there you go. Appreciate the big love, and we promise to get your business name right.
Yes.
Yes, won't we?
Yes.
This is yes. All right. Let's pay attention to the detail. Let's not go and insult New South Wales. Boy, we've got some New South Welshmen in the room. You know what I'm going to do next week? I think I'm going to put my Maroons jersey on. Yeah. Then we'll have I don't know when. Yeah, we've had the State of Origin this year, and I think the Blues won it. So No, you're welcome. You're welcome, man. Happy to help. I'm glad it's helping in a little way. So yeah, appreciate the big love. All right. Next question. What we got?
Sam from TikTok. It's the user.
Righto, Sam. Now we've got a name.
Yeah.
Righto.
How do you counter that for them then not negotiate the price? Hold on, I'll go back to his other question. Yeah. How do you find customers when just starting out, and then how do you counter that for them, then not negotiate the price?
Well, look, I think this is where it comes down to, and I often say that you've got to move a lot of dirt to find the gold. So thanks for the question, Sam. So the challenge with that is you've got to have good top of funnel leads. So you've got to have a good amount of inquiry. And the only way you do that is have good marketing and branding. Now, it's all about just building, just climbing that mountain inch by inch, right? Because inch by inch, who said this? Some motivational speaker. Almost had his name. Inch by inch is a cinch. Yard by yard is hard, right? So for the new guys starting out, where you're trying to break into a new market, where you're trying to develop your reputation and your brand, what you've got to understand is your price has to be your price, people. You can't have somebody else tell you what you're worth. Now, if you're being irresponsible and you decide you're going to charge, $400 an hour for a carpentry labor, you're out of your mind. You're not going to win, right? But you shouldn't be a full-blown journeyman, red seal, qualified carpenter working for $21 an hour. Like I was when I was putting those dishwashers. What do we got? An update?
Sam added, you said to lower your rates, so that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, okay. So we talked about buying the work. So when you're in a new area, so it's different when you've got people. If you've already presented a proposal for a certain amount of money, and then clients are going, well, you've quoted me 50 grand or 30 grand to do that bathroom, but I want you to do it for 18. Mate, this is not an auction. I know what I'm worth. I know what shit costs. I know how to build a renovate. I know how to renovate a bathroom. I know that the period of time it's going to take, and the price is the price, right? Now, if that's when I'm quoting, because I assume all the risk. I've got the noose under my neck, around my neck, and the box under my feet, right? So I'm taking the risk on a fixed price. On hourly rate, it's when I'm lowering my rate, like I did when I come to this town, because I needed to demonstrate my expertise and show people in this town that I had not just I'm flapping my gums telling you how good I am, but I'm out there doing it and I'm showing them, and I'm doing small renovation jobs on $25 an hour, and what I slowly do nowadays, of course, we've been here for 7 years. If I put the word on the street that I was hooking my trailer up and I was going back on the tools, mate, I'd be busy instantly. The word would just be out there, right? So yeah, I don't want what the question was. You said to lower your rate, so. Yeah, right. It's a balance. You got to follow your gut. I had a strategy. Now, don't forget, I was already a 25-year veteran of the construction business when I came here. So, and I had 6 kids, right? So I kind of got to make some shit pay, right? So if I'm going to go and buy work and drop my rate to $20 an hour to put dishwashers in, it's going to be for this much time, because I got to get back up to where I know I got to be. So I had to do shit, pretty rapidly to prove, what I was good for or good at. And it's worked out pretty well. Those circles have since changed their opinion of me and what I can do. And yeah, here we are. What's next, Dom?
Junior from TikTok.
Righto, Junior. Not my Junior.
No.
Okay, sorry.
Any tips for a new starting tile business? I'm trying to scale up.
Okay, so you just said 2 things. You said, I'm just starting and I want to scale up. Okay, so let me help you understand. What you've got to do as a startup is you've got to consolidate. And then when you get some momentum, more importantly, you have 3 months or 4 months worth of fixed expenses in the bank cash. You can then go into expansion mode, which essentially is growing a business or developing a business. Because what we want to do is we want to grow in such a way that we've got backstops and then we've got contingencies. If you're trying to grow a business and you've got no operational capital, what you're going to find is that if something goes pear-shaped, you're out of business. And that's not what we want. So when you're starting out as let's say a tile setter or tiler, my brother's a ceramic tiler, you want to be on the tools by yourself. What you want to be doing is you want to be delivering top-notch service, top-notch quality of work, and you want to be doing it expeditiously and efficiently to maximize your profit, right? That's base one. Then on that, after that, you might then go and say, all right, well, I'm going to bring on a full-time guy, 40 hours a week. That's going to cost me, I don't know, $1,200, $1,200 to $1,500 a week. That's by 4 weeks a month. So that's, let's say, $5,000 a month. And I've got to pay myself $6,000 a month. So that's 11. You need to have 30 to 40 grand in the bank before you want to go and get that new guy. Now you might want to put in a little bit less than that. Because it's not really high risk when you're bringing one guy on to work with you as a helper. But what I'm trying to say is that if you want to run, I say this to my general contractors, I'm recommending that you put systems together whilst you're a one-man band, and these guys will say to me, well, how come, Max, I'm a one-man band? Well, I'll say to them, yeah, but you want to run $1 million business, correct? And they're like, yeah, I sure do. And I'm like, well, here's the deal. Work on your technique when you're small and where everything's under your control, where the chances of a blowout are minimal, and develop your technique first and then roll into increasing this speed, okay? And so those principles that you learn as a little guy are going to be the foundation stones of your big business. That's what I would recommend if you're starting out as a tile setter, and understand and recognize the difference between consolidation and expansion. They're 2 different phases of play for 2 specifically different reasons. So this is what I'd say. Dream big, start small, systemize the shit out of everything, and focus on, the business development side and the financial management, and that educate yourself around that. And that's really what's going to help you, survive and also grow and be profitable. Let's go. What else we got?
Danielle's
back.
This is she added this to her when you were talking about her comment.
Righto. Yep.
And then the weather comes into play. This also relates to cash flow question.
Yeah.
So I'll just read her question out. Okay. What do you think should change the industry? Should change in the industry, example, 10% deposit.
Yeah, so look, it's just, the thing is, you've got this governing authority that treats the trades like they're the bad guys, and it's not like they haven't got reason to, but it seems like it's biased to the the client's favour a lot, and it makes it terribly difficult for guys like us. So Danielle, look, I think the other part of this, mate, is to. Yeah, okay, she was talking about weather. Yeah, weather's out of your control, and it's the worst for roofers. Like, the minute there's a cloud over bloody Melbourne, you guys have got to start packing up. Yeah, she's got, how do you account? Oh, that's another one. Okay, so, look, I think the other thing you've got to do, Danielle, is you've got to, and maybe you do, I don't know, but I don't know who supplies your stuff, whether it's Lysart or whether it's Blue Steel. I can't remember sort of the major manufacturers down there, Danielle, but... you've got to get a commercial account. You need that 30 days because you can only take the 10%. So, it's super challenging. And then you've got weather to deal with on top of that, which is also, a crazy thing for roofers because they spend their whole life up there. So the minute they get a bit of rain on metal roof, it's dangerous. Okay, next one.
User. This is a different user from Sam.
Not user Sam. This is user somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the absolute number one way to market? Please answer.
Okay, look, it depends on your checkbook. It depends on your pocketbook or what cash you got in the bank. Like I said earlier, we will probably spend close to 100 grand with Google this year. We will spend easily 50 grand with Facebook. And I would say that different areas actually respond differently. We're having quite the challenge in one area with leads in general digitally. I'll come back to leads in a sec. Danielle just dropped another. We have a commercial account. We're just living in a shit show at the minute. Yeah, mate, righto. Yeah, I know what shit show means. That's Danielle, feel free to touch base on email, mate, max@businessforbuilders.ca, and maybe we can just jam around this, in between Fridays rather than doing it out here if you're going to need a little bit more heads up. But, it's up to you, mate. But hopefully you can tame or calm the shit show and get into some more of a predictable strategy that's going to help you, develop that roofing business, with a lot more sort of predictability. So getting back to the marketing question, what's the best way to go marketing? Do it. That'd be great, Danielle. I think marketing, it depends. Like the place where we're struggling with digital, and we're talking Google AdWords and Facebook, it's very kind of, look, like I said, we've got a really good optimization percentage in that area on Google. 94.6% is ridiculous. The CTR is like 10 to 15%. All kinds of impressions and clicks and shit, but they're just not going the whole way and getting on the website and going, yep, we want your services. So we are starting to, in this case, because it's a little bit more, and now with that optimization percentage, where I was going is that we've got such a good optimization percentage, it almost like begs the question that we've got to throw more money at it. Now, it's on $100 a day. That's $3,000 a month. That's $36,000 a year for one town. That's ridiculous. So we are now considering, off the back of what we've done with that forecast, is we're going, okay, so in that little area, in that city, what about brochures, letterbox drops, newspapers, and maybe radio? Like, seriously, it's ridiculous. But... those, it really, what I would say to you is that I wouldn't say to you, there is the best. Like, you might, in your area, I know this 10 years ago when I was a franchise general contractor with Smith & Sons, I would put out 20,000 brochures in my primary marketing area. Can I have a water? In my primary marketing area, there was 20,000 letterboxes. I used to put out 20,000 brochures. I would get 60,000 brochures printed at once. And we were inundated with phone calls. We were always busy. So what I would say is you've got to go and try something and do what we call A/B testing, right? So we do this with digital. So, there'll be different types of creative, which we'll do. I've got something in my throat. And we'll try creative, and then we'll leave the creative the same, and then we'll try copy. And so we got all of this, different A/B testing where we go run this and then run that and see which one performs the most. And we'll do that with print media, with newspapers, with radio as well. The problem with all of that traditional marketing is we don't ever get the analytics. We can't see if they've watched the video. We can't see how long they watched the video. We can't then remarket to them using the power of those analytics. So, and it's bloody well overpriced. I mean, radio will cost $1,200 to $1,500 a month. So, cool. Hopefully that that kind of doesn't answer. Sorry about that. Was that a user? No, that was...
Yes. Helmet Head from TikTok.
Helmet Head, my man.
2 questions.
Righto, Helmet Head. I'll answer 2 questions. Let's go.
How do you account for surges in material and fuel, and how can I accommodate my labor charges?
Okay, so let's go with the gas and all the cost of materials and fuel stuff. This is what you've got to be doing. Obviously, your quotes should expire in 14 days maximum. In this environment right now, everything that you present should have this quote is valid for 14 days. That's how you fix that. And he's on what work was he doing? We didn't say. Your quotes should expire after 14 days. Now they might be still, the pricing might be still good, but it's subject to review by management. That's what I say. Okay, so that's how we do it. Now, if you if you sign a fixed price today and it's not going to start for 4 months, then you're staring down the barrel of, increased fuel costs and things like that. If you're doing fixed price and you're concerned about those sorts of running costs, like, okay, gas might or fuel might go up again, then you might have something built into your estimate that is some sort of surcharge for running costs. So, equipment running costs, and that'll include your vehicle. If you've got to run generators on site because you've got no electricity or whatever, any of those equipment running costs, like running the fuel through your vehicle or whatever, you might have to put another category in your estimate and go, well, for that job, I'm going to spend $2,000 worth of fuel on that job. I've got to put that in. So that's why, I think what it comes down to is, guys and girls, you've got to use common sense. You've just got to think about your business. Think about the dynamics. Don't just get stuck in tunnel vision. Use your peripheral vision, use the common sense, and don't be afraid to allocate budgets, folks. You go and take on work, and then you all of a sudden you're complaining because you realize you're not making money. That's your own fault. You did that shit to yourself, right? So you either have it one way or the other. You either go and do it and lose, or you put it in there, and let's say you miss out on the job. Well, that client might have just done you a favor because all they're going to do is grind you down anyway, and they want to stand on your head to get their renovation done. So that's not cool either. So I would just work the contingencies. Think about projections. Now, if your quote expires in 14 days and they come to you a month later and say, I'd like to go ahead with that job, you just say to them, look, I've got to review that, and you've got to make sure that condition's in that quote. Look, your quote is expired. It's subject to review by yours truly. And then you go back to them and you go, look, actually there's been a 5%. I've got to increase the cost, but you've got to start that job within 30 days. So that's the other condition too. You can't quote something and say, sure, I'll start this job. You've just got to protect yourself, people. That's called risk mitigation. Do a risk assessment and then do risk mitigation. And mitigation just means what steps are you going to take to ensure that you don't get overtaken by a blindside, or you don't get hit by, you don't have blind spots in your quoting mechanism. Hope that helps.
His second question from Helmet Head.
Right, Helmet Head.
How much should a qualified carpenter charge?
Depends on what ecosystem you're in, bro. It depends if you're working directly for the customer. It depends if you're working for a general contractor. But in this day and age, I don't know. I think good guys are starting at probably 35 minimum if you're working for a builder. If you're working directly for an end user, 40 to 45 minimum. I mean, I've heard guys charging more than that, and it just depends on your business model. And honestly, it depends on what stage of business development you're at. If you're in the early stages, you've got to go and run a little leaner to give you the opportunity to get work done, client reviews, leverage building or reputation building resources, so that enables you to now use that as a stepping stone, and then you can step up and slowly but surely. So, don't overestimate what you can achieve in 12 months. Just be patient and be diligent. But just always keep an eye on your viability and your profitability. You're not, you got to make sure that you're working a plan. Don't just go around the mountain another year and go, well, I didn't make any more money this year than I did last year. Well, you're not watching your business. You're not taking notes, and you're not really looking at implementing, or you're not set up a business plan or a business development plan through strategic planning. So, yeah, I hope that helps. Let's go. We've got a few racking up now, do we?
No. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Bo? Yeah, it's just Bo.
Okay.
I'm a chippy, just started for myself doing frames. Should I look for work direct to builder or look renos, etc.? Or you could exclude this cost and add a cost per L, etc.
Okay. Not 100% sure. So that's Bo, right?
Yeah.
Bo Dean Best.
Yes.
Look, I think it's probably what I know is this is what I know. Go working for a builder, you don't have to spend $1 on marketing. That is for sure. You've got a high level of predictability because usually they want to keep guys going because they've got projects in advance. You've just got to understand that they, like you, if you're a builder, or me as a builder, I've got to purchase wholesale to give me the arbitrage and then sell retail. That's why we do markup. We create the arbitrage. So the good thing about working for a builder, and I did it for 20 years, I run a framing crew with 15 guys on it, and, that was fine. I just kept running around doing frame. But what I realized is I was hitting a ceiling. I'm like, I had 15 guys and I was making less money, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. And I can't go to them and get my rates increased because they love buying me at wholesale. So there was no room for me to actually go beyond that. So I had to pivot, having gone for a builder's license 2 other times, and not been successful or not followed through and not finished, to going, now I absolutely want it. And the opportunity came up and I was able to get a builder's license. So it's really comes down to looking at where you're up to in your life, looking at whether or not you've got an appetite for risk that is going to support your desire to build a business. Some of you guys and girls are ninja entrepreneur business folks, but there's other guys and girls that actually make a bloody good second in command. And you've just got to look in the mirror and re-listen to your heart and go, am I supposed to be in the lead dog position, or am I supposed to be actually someone who could play a really good support role? And so, this is why it's impossible. There is no cookie cutter process because us as humans, we're all different. And that's what complicates shit. Yo.
Okay. I'm just waiting for Cher to. Oh.
Helmet Head said, great advice. Top. Man, cheers. Thanks for the love, Helmet Head. Good to have you on the show. Looks like there's a, what do you want me to do?
You
got one?
I'll say it right this time. Shore Break Plumbing.
Shore Break Plumbing. Good to have you in the house. We've even got your name right second time round. Sweet as a nut.
Specialized works, not building related. I do leak detection. How do I know I'm charging enough?
Okay, that's a good question. That's fair enough because it is a little bit unorthodox. I just want to say a quick good day to Sam. Sam's a buddy of mine out of Kamloops up here in BC. He still helps us out running this business. Without Sam, we could not do what we do. So good to have you, Sam. Mate, that's a really good question because I like the sound of that because it's really what I find, what I like about the Reno game, because it's almost like on every project we're doing exactly that. And so I think when you're doing leak detection, I know this is what we've done for our builders is like when clients ring us and they go, hey, Max, they don't say Max, whatever, but they're saying, hey, Smith & Sons, we're about to buy a piece of property and I want to know what it's going to cost to renovate the kitchen. And so the program that we come up with is it's $75 an hour, minimum 2 hours, and it's for a visual inspection, verbal report. Now, I know that's not very common in the industry, but we can't be going out there and quoting or even driving there and meeting with clients and wasting our time and fuel when they don't actually own the piece of property. So in that case, they're going to pay us. So that was a system, Shore Break, that we had to come up with because we were getting a few of those inquiries to protect our builders from getting sort of used and abused, right? And so when it comes down to that, what you've got to do is really look at a typical inquiry and say, all right, so they're going to ring me up. They're going to suspect they've got a leak. So, Shore Break, you might be able to use the same thing. Well, I can do a site visit and I don't know what testing equipment. I'm sure you're going to use a little bit more than a moisture meter. But you might go out there and say, look, initially I can do, here we go. Danielle's just chimed in. Do it as a full roof report, can charge more. I'm going to think about that one. So because I know that people want an answer. They're going, I think we've got a leak. I don't want you to just come out and kick tires and then charge me money. So I would love to know, Shorebreak, whether or not you 99% of the time will be able to confirm on your initial visit that there is a problem. Now, hang on. Not building related. I do leak detection. Now, he's plumbing, so he's not roofing, Danielle. So I'm not sure whether he's talking about plumbing leaks. Shorebreak, can you just confirm, like you do in your specialised work, that you're doing leak detection as it relates to pipe work, like waste and water, or are you doing leak detection for roofing and flashings and things like? I do pressure tests to confirm a leak. Okay, so he's doing leaks on pipes, righto. So if he was able to detect it on the first time round, yeah, Danielle's got it, no sweat. So if you're able to detect it 99% of the time, Shorebreak, you can actually go there and say, look, it's very likely that I can put my pressure testing equipment on this and then run all your other diagnostics and come up with an outcome within reason. You say, look, but it's always a minimum charge of $500 for me to come out and do that. No guarantee that I'm going to find the leak, but it's highly likely, based on my historical data and my experience, that we will be able to, figure out where that's at. And unfortunately, if you can't detect it, they're still going to have to pay the money. So you want to start out and just see what works. You're only going to lose money once or twice, and you'll figure out, well, this has got whiskers on it. I shouldn't be doing this. And then you'll start changing your tune. So I think for you, Shorebreak, it's going to be more along the lines of a test and measure. Test and measure, test and measure, test and measure. See what people bite on. I've got guys in my group that can't believe that we apply 45% markup on goods on cost of goods sold, materials and labor, and win renovations. They were just like blown away because they're busy charging 18% on cost plus. So, but when they start winning work, all of a sudden the belief system kicks in and they're like, okay, now I've got a couple under my belt. I really know what's going on. So Shorebreak, that's what I would say. Go and do some, do some initial test and measure, chat at clients, because in doing that, if you make them happy, they're going to get good value. And of course that you get them on video with your phones saying, super happy to have Shorebreak out. Took them about, 45 minutes to detect roughly where the leak was. And then we pulled some drywall off and there it was. It was awesome to know. And then because he's in plumbing, he fixed a pipe at the same time. Like magic, right? But you can't see into the future, and you need to be able to sort of figure out your system and work it. So I hope that helps, Shorebreak. Thanks for chiming in, Danielle. Appreciate it. Okay, what else we got?
Sure. From TikTok, SHIR.
Okay. It is.
I do commercial tiling in Brisbane. Any advice? 18 years old.
Mate, you wouldn't have finished your apprenticeship, would you? Come back to me. 18-year-old. Yeah, maybe. Cheers, Shorebreak. Happy to help, champion. Helping humans. What do we got?
Shorebreak said, I also show them the process from the TikTok videos so they know what's going on.
There you go. So he's got a TikTok video that he shows them?
He's got 17,000 followers.
Ah, boom. He's a gangster.
Yeah.
Now, Sher's just come back. He says, I own the business. So what was Sher's question again?
I do commercial tiling in Brisbane. Any advice? 18 years old.
Right, so he's doing the tiling. Bro, you must have grown up in the game. At 18 years of age and you're already out on your own tiling, you're a freaking ninja. I wonder what they're charging per... I'm not an apprentice. I run a commercial business with my brother. All right. And I would say, sure, it's your big brother. Fill me in, bro. Hit me up. Is it your big brother you're working with? Because 18 years of age... I mean, I started young and I was 16. So he's already dominating at 18. He's going well. Hit me up. Let's go, Sher. What age are you, champ? And his question was, what about... Geez,
I do commercial tiling in Brisbane. Any advice?
Right, he's with his big brother. Righto. So, and they're both directors. Awesome. Okay, so here's the thing. The best business you can be in is with your brother. The worst business you can be in is with your brother. So... I would like to think, and he's 23, right? His big brother's 23. So, look, like, family first, you guys never fight over money. So that'd be the first thing I'd say, right? Brothers first, business partners second, right? And so have your ego and humility. Like, sure, if he starts leaning on you and says, well, I'm the guy with this tiling ticket, and you're my little brother, and you're only here because of me, yeah, that shit's not going to last. That's not going to fly. I wouldn't do that to mine. I've got 3 younger brothers. I ain't going to lean on him like that. I got my kids working for me in this building. I ain't going to lean on him using that leverage. But if he's got ego and humility together and you guys really lock and load and you serve each other really well, here's the deal, right? You guys stand back to back, draw a line around, draw a circle around you guys. Nobody gets into that circle. Nothing gets into that circle. You guys look after each other because that is a really powerful, partnership, and you can go a long way. You've just got to be patient and very patient with the process, and also patient. Oh, we have multiple sources and projects. We manage 3 projects each. Right. So, yeah, it's like you're into it. Now, I mean, on commercial too, that's what he's saying. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Commercial's pretty cool. You can really get in. You got big open space usually, and you can, you can get shit happening. So, look, I watched my brother. He's a ceramic tiler, and he had, 3 or 4 guys, and he was so systemized, and he'd smash bathrooms really quick, even when they're bedding shower trays and things like that. So it was but it's kind of a young man's game because there's a lot of time you spend on your hands and knees and you're bending over, mixing glue and shit. So, so the advice would be really, I think I wouldn't give you advice about the trade as such. What I would give you advice about is, understand, business development, financial management, understand what work in progress accounting is, understanding what your level of liability is, understanding, the power of where your break-even point is. So if your expenses are, $20,000 a month, you got to understand what you've got to bill for every month. So just always focus on the financial aspects, sure, of what you're doing. And I think you're on the right track to, have a really quality. And the great thing about that is, he can piss off for a week or two's holiday and you can basically cover for him and vice versa. And that's freaking awesome. That's really, really awesome. So, yeah, mate, you're welcome. Happy to give you a little bit of help. Awesome.
Helmet Head from TikTok.
Helmet Head is back. Yep.
When doing any building work, should I have a contract in place?
Yes. Easy. Yeah, mate. Like, it's a little bit trickier if you were Helmet Head. If you're working, yeah, see, those boys are doing $3 million in turnover. I can tell he's an Aussie because they wouldn't use the word turnover anywhere else in the world. Yeah, I really think... Run me that question again, Dom. I get sidetracked.
Helmet heads?
Yeah.
When doing any building work...
Yeah, contract. Got it. Sorry.
Yeah, let me finish.
Just freaking start with the end because I just think the last couple of words. Contract. Mate, it depends if you're working. If you're working for a builder, what you'll have is a builder-subcontractor agreement usually. And it is advisable to probably have that. The builder's a little bit in control of that. But definitely if you're working for clients... like end users, then absolutely. I mean, ours is I think it might be 13 pages long. So yeah, it's pretty extensive. It outlines all the payment schedules, all the different, clauses and conditions, everything that's super important to really protect us, the builder. So yeah, a handshake that was so 70s and 80s. Like we need to step up our professional approach to running a business. Is that one just came in? Yeah, we're doing good. Yeah. That was Helmet Head. Yeah, got multiple insurances in place. Okay. Yeah, just watch your 6. Like, you have to be... See, the only reason contracts come out is when somebody's trying to do something shifty. If everyone is actually integrous and above board and, it's just when somebody doesn't do their part, the other party is going to start calling shit in like that. And unfortunately, that is because everybody's perception is the truth. The way that somebody perceives something to them is the truth. And so, it really does. That's why it's got to be in black and white because here's the rules. This is the go-to in the event of a dispute. So how do you make our services competitive in a saturated area without competing on price? Right. I don't understand. Now, I don't know. I'm not everywhere. I'm not omnipresent. But look, I mean, if you've got a saturated area, Dennis, can you just give me a quick? Can you give me a basic town? Are you in Vancouver? Are you in Calgary? Are you in Los Angeles? Are you in Melbourne? Like, just give me a bit of a heads up. Are you in freaking London? Like, because I know this. When I say to people that, because I've got access to some statistics, and it tells me what happened in certain areas last financial year in different cities and towns in Canada, right? And when I say to people that there was $10 billion worth of renovation work happen in Vancouver, like Vancouver, not the surrounding areas, but Vancouver, people almost fall off their chair. The amount of opportunity that's in their area, they were totally oblivious to, right? They think that they've got a scarcity mindset, and I understand that because nobody tells us what's really going on. So if Dennis would share with me what rough area that, even if it's, Calgary or whatever, we can easily get some numbers back to him. But let's say he's right. Let's say he's in a saturated area. There will be work happening. You've just got to you've got to become a standout. You have got to talk about features and benefits. You've got to, if everyone else is doing cost plus, you've got to do fixed price. You've got to make sure you're making money on fixed price. You've got to demonstrate more value to the end user than your competition is doing. That's how you do it without competing on price. We absolutely don't compete on price, but it certainly doesn't help if you are, in fact, in a saturated area. So, I hope that helps. If Dennis would get back to me and let me know, it doesn't matter, but that's the only way you can do it. If he's competitive and everyone else is competing on price.
He said, I'm currently in the UK, but I'm planning on moving back to start new in Ontario.
Okay, so, look, and I don't have a really good understanding, but I mean, Ontario, if you're finding it competitive in the UK, which I kind of understand because it is such a, it's a small land mass, and I guess there's a shit ton of people, and so there's heaps of tradies and whatnot. Come back to Ontario, if that's where you're originally from, Dennis. I tell you what, Dennis, if you Google CHBA, which is Canadian Home Builders Association, CHBA stats or statistics, then you'll probably, if you follow your nose through the National Canadian Home Builders Association, you'll be able to find a downloadable PDF, which is like 250 pages long, and you'll be able to figure out what sort of opportunity is in Ontario. But that's not going to help you in UK. But if you're moving back, stay in touch with us, man. Hit me up on email, go through the website, businessforbuilders.ca, and maybe we can help you out on the relocating side of it as well. What do we got to finish up?
No, Jacob Postma said Ontario's shit across the board right now. Don't waste your time.
Oh, freaking hell. So there's a guy, Jacob Postma, is in Ontario, and he's saying that Ontario's shit. So anyway, folks, have a great weekend. Our camera batteries are about to die. I'm getting waved at. Appreciate you being in the house. Keep an eye on us throughout the week, and we will do this again next Friday. Happy hunting. Go build a kick-ass business, champions. Bye for now.